Hello, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi.
Um, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what organization you're with?
Sure. My name is Aunt Lobo. My pronouns are they, them, and I am with VAE Raleigh.
Awesome. So,
Yeah,
Aunt, tell us a little bit about VAE. You guys have a lot going on there right now, right?
yeah. So VAE is normally when we're open an art gallery, and as one of the um, bigger, the bigger, smaller cultural arts organizations, we're in a really cool position where all of the work that we produce throughout the year is about socially engaged art. Um, so we have transitioned in this time where we're closed to really engaging with the community, working with the LGBT Center and the protesters. And we just yesterday finished up a project we were doing with Wake County, where we were helping raise funds for some COVID-specific relief programs that they had planned and were just struggling to raise money for. So we just finished that yesterday and raised over $8,000 to help out them.
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
great. And you all have been partnering with some other organizations with your own fund to support artists through this, right?
Yeah. So we started the Artist Relief Fund on March 15th, I think was the day that it launched. And we are partnered with ArtSpace, with Pinecone, and a few other organizations in the Triangle.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
know it's been exciting to watch the numbers tick up as you've taken in so many funds. I know a lot of folks have really been helped throughout the state. This has been a statewide effort, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, we've been very lucky to be partnered with so many organizations, not only locally that we have known for a long time and have great partnerships with, but it's really allowed us to take our outreach outside of just the small bubble of downtown Raleigh. So I know that we've partnered with the Durham Art Guild, and they have been super great to work with, and everybody that we've been able to give funds to since March. Across the state has been a really incredible experience. And it's been really cool to watch it grow into what it has. Because at first we were like, all right, this will be great. This will be cool for a couple months. And now it has turned into this like super long term thing that we're really excited to hopefully continue in the future.
Well, it's so necessary right now. I know so many artists are really struggling, and I know so many artists also had, often created art for the love and then had day jobs that they're struggling with right now. They may be out of work or underemployed during this time. So to be able to, assist them is just really great because we're also recognizing, don't you think, through this pandemic, how much we rely on art and artists. I think if there's never been a time that we could in modern history that we could say that art and artists have been more vital than they are right now, for helping all of us kind of keep our wits about us, right?
Absolutely.
That's so great. Well, so are you still collecting donations for that fund?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we have taken a break from dispersing funds because there was a funding gap that we
Okay.
were working on closing, but that gap closed very quickly. We
Wonderful.
had a huge pouring in of funds to the fund, and are hopefully going to be able to start dispersing the funds again soon.
That's awesome. That's really great. We're so grateful for your work in doing that. So one of the things I really like about VAE and that I get excited about is that VAE, as you mentioned, does a lot more than just serve as an art gallery.
Yeah.
You're also a very socially justice-minded organization, and I know that you all have done a lot of work around racial equity and things like that. So is there anything you want to say about any current initiatives you have going on or things you have coming up? That are going to be addressing some of the various social justice causes that you all work so hard on.
Yeah, absolutely. So right before we closed, we were about to install an exhibition where we are working with the Latinx community. And it was going to open in the beginning of April, and we shut down right in the middle of March, right before we
Yeah.
were about to get the work shipped to us. Um, so that was really unfortunate that we had to push the exhibition back, but we have recently started revisiting it. and are contemplating several different ideas on how we can still have the exhibition, but not in our space. So without giving too much away, we are working on how to install the work publicly and to kind of think about the exhibition in a little bit of a non-traditional way.
Mm-hmm.
We're really excited about that. And as I mentioned, we just finished up our project with Wake County yesterday.
Right.
So those are kind of the two biggest things that we've worked on recently that we're super excited about.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if folks want to follow along with what's going on, I assume find you on social media.
Yes.
Is that the best way?
Yeah. We are on Facebook, VAE Raleigh. We are on Instagram as VAE Raleigh. And those are the two biggest social medias that we use. So make sure to like and subscribe and follow.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for all the work you do. And we are so grateful. You've been such a huge support to the center as we've navigated these interesting days and these challenging times. I know your organization has played such a crucial role in supporting the protests, which a lot of folks don't know are in day what now, and 60 something of sustained protests. And you all have played a pivotal role in helping sustain that work. So we're very grateful for that as well.
Yeah, we're glad to be able to do it.
Well, thank you. Well, thanks for joining us today, and I hope we will talk with you and see you very soon.
All right. Thank you. That sounds good, Lindsey.
Hey, Tara. Thanks so much for joining us today. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what organization you're with?
Well, thanks for inviting me. My name is Tara Romano. I am with NARAL Pro-Choice, North Carolina, and I use she and her pronouns.
Awesome. Tara, it's so great to have you here. And NARAL has done so much important work all the time, working on reproductive justice and equity. And we know that this is an especially big year for a lot of reasons. So I was wondering if you could share with us some of the things that I know, obviously your whole approach has probably changed as we move through this COVID time. So some of the ways you've had to respond to this pandemic crisis and also some of the work you have going on right now.
Well, one thing when the pandemic at least hit in the United States and we started shutting down in March, one thing that we knew was not going to change was that people were going to need abortion access. Right. And so one of the first things we wanted to make sure was that people still could access abortion. And I don't know how familiar people would be in other states where they tried to use the COVID crisis to shut down abortion clinics. Anti-abortion folks were doing that. And there were people in North Carolina trying to call on Governor Cooper to do the same thing. We were fortunate that Governor Cooper is supportive of abortion access, understands that it is essential health care, and same with the folks at DHHS. But we definitely wanted to make sure that they knew that people did support abortion access in North Carolina, that it was essential health care. And so fortunately, those clinics did not close during that time. Anti-abortion protesters still decided to flout public health orders and stand in front of clinics in large groups during that time to harass patients who were also, not just making the decision to get an abortion, which may or may not have anxiety for them, but also then having to do it during a time when people had some anxiety about going out and going to healthcare facilities so that was in the first part of this. We definitely were sort of pivoting to making sure people knew that they could access abortion and helping, working with local governments to help them try to control what was happening in front of the clinics, to at least try and get some public safety. It's one thing if they're out there, it's another thing if they're approaching people who are going to the clinic, not wearing masks, potentially infecting people with COVID-19. So we were doing some of that in the first part of the spring. And then of course, we were definitely all preparing for the Supreme Court decision that were going to come down in June, which they did. And so the June Medical Services decision, which was a case out of Louisiana, what it did was upheld the status quo. We were grateful that it upheld the status quo, but we know that there still needs to be more to do to make sure there's equitable access for abortion in North Carolina. So what have we've been doing this summer is helping people understand what abortion access is in North Carolina, that we are fortunate compared to other southern states that we have some more clinics, but we still don't have equitable access at all. Clinics only exist in 9 counties in North Carolina, so people have to travel pretty far, and we have a lot of restrictions. And so as we get into the fall, we're really looking at the election coming up. Everyone's saying it's a critical election. We agree with that. Reproductive health care is absolutely on the ballot. And we really want to encourage people to vote up and down the ballot and vote for progressive pro-choice candidates. It doesn't matter what their office is. Anti-abortion folks have known for a long time that getting anti-abortion people into even the most local office is still a way that they can try and, insert anti-abortion ideology, whether it's like clerk of court, whether it's district attorney, all of those things. So
Right.
we want people to know that it's important for reproductive freedom to see who's on your ballot, look for those good progressive candidates who are supporting abortion access.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that work that you're doing. Now, how can folks get involved right now if they're interested in helping? I know ordinarily, again, operations will be running very differently leading up to an election time. But if folks want to get involved and volunteer or make a donation, how can they do that?
Well, certainly, if you go to our website, prochoicenc.org, there's ways that you can sign up. We have both just like a general email listserv and then a rapid response one. And the rapid response isn't used as much, but it is for like when we need people to be calling, like right now, something is happening. We need you to either call your elected officials, we need you to show up, which I'm not gonna need you to show up right now. But,
right.
And then also we've been doing regular action emails from our general listserv, which is like, there's so many things that you can do right now to support abortion access, support racial equity, to support voting rights. And so we are like about every other week sending actions that you can do from your home, which is, and so please go ahead and sign up for that. And then also there are ways that you can get connected. We can help you get connected to clinics are starting to, they had to for a while suspend their clinic escorting services, which are services that provide, so when patients come to clinics, they're not just seeing anti-abortion protesters. They see a friendly face, somebody who can tell them, come over this way to get to the clinic, here's where you park. And so they were suspended them in the initial part of the COVID-19 pandemic. I think the clinics mostly are slowly, having like sort of at least a skeleton crew to keep everyone, they want to keep the escorts safe, but they also know it's important for clinic or for patients to have those friendly faces to guide them. We can help you connect if you are interested in doing any clinic escorting. And
That's great.
And certainly, of course, we are a small organization. We really appreciate everyone's support. If you can give us donations, and that's on our website as well.
Absolutely. And I know, it's interesting you mentioned that you're doing a lot around abortion access, racial equity, voting rights. I think so often people forget that all of these things are so intertwined and interwoven. And a lot of times when we talk about abortion access, people think if they're not a person who maybe would have an abortion or if that doesn't seem relevant to their life, they forget that ensuring access for people to be able to access abortion matters on a number of different levels, and it really is about equity kind of across the board. So I so appreciate that you draw the correlations there often. And I know we've talked personally about the overlap between the work we do as LGBTQ plus folks and working for LGBTQ plus liberation, and how that also translates to people having medical freedom to control their own bodies. So we're so grateful for everything you do, and we will certainly be looking out for the action emails. And again, we wish that we were all celebrating in person this weekend, and I know that this would be a great time for us to get out and distribute literature and remind people what's at stake at this election. Unfortunately, we can't do that, but hopefully some folks will be able to volunteer with you and make phone calls or send emails and remind people about the importance of this. So thank you for your time, and thank you for being with us. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
Really quickly, I do want to mention, as you talked about the intersections, like one thing we do at NARA Pro-Choice North Carolina is try to expose the fake clinics, aka crisis pregnancy centers. And I think they get money from the state here in North Carolina. And one of the things we want people to understand is, like, even if you're not, they exist to dissuade, to coerce and intimidate people from accessing abortion. They are also super homophobic. They are focused on like abstinence only sex education, which doesn't work, and also like really heterosexual relationships, married relationships are the only appropriate relationships for sexual relations. And our state gives money to them, and we really want people to understand, like, even if you're not seeking abortion, like giving money to a fake clinic and giving health dollars to a fake clinic when so many people in North Carolina do not have access to adequate healthcare. And that includes people in the LGBTQ community, rural populations, young people, immigrant communities, communities of color already struggle to find access to quality healthcare, and our state, instead of expanding Medicaid, is giving money to these fake clinics to just promote a homophobic, transphobic, anti-abortion ideology. And so we really want people to understand, like, it's more than just they're opposed to abortion. It's like, what does it mean to be giving health dollars away in this really, to really basically something that exploits the fact that people don't have access to healthcare. So that's
Right.
another big issue that we really focus on. They can be challenging to deal with, but we absolutely believe that once people learn about them, they will try to hold them accountable.
We had talked about that before, how, if we were having our in-person festival this weekend, we know that we would have the protesters out there and be doing the Pledge a Protester program to raise money for our services. And we've talked about before how the protesters who come out to protest out Raleigh Pride are the same protesters who stand outside of clinics often, or the same protesters who show up at city council meetings. I mean, it really is the same group of folks, and they are a very loud minority, but we do trust that, and that goes back to the reason why it's so important that people vote, because we need progressive folks in office to make sure that we're getting our dollars spent in the right places. So thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for pointing that out. So, well, thanks, Tara, and I hope we will see you very soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
So would you mind introducing yourself and telling everybody what organization you're with?
I do not mind at all. My name is Annie Schmidt, and I am the Executive Director for NAMI Wake County. We are the local affiliate for the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Awesome. Well, Annie, I know that your organization has been doing a lot to try to respond to things as they've come up around COVID, and you've definitely been working hard through this pandemic. Do you want to share some of the things you have going on?
Absolutely. I am so proud of our team for stepping up in this pandemic to make sure that people are meeting the needs that are happening. Like, these are times of everyone experiencing grief and trauma, and the psychological effects of this pandemic are being felt by everyone. So no matter where you started, you're feeling something from it. If it's grief through the loss of normalcy, of friends, of a job, of somebody who might have gotten sick or passed away from this virus, there's a lot of different emotions that people are feeling right now. And so we've been stepping up in a couple different ways. We offer virtual support groups 3 days a week on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. The first group of the month is closed caption in case you are deaf or hard of hearing and still are looking to participate. We have our education classes that are focused on recovery for individuals and family members and parents. And then we've also been bringing up different education events. The one coming up at the end of August is focused on eating disorder awareness. And I'm pretty excited to announce that we have a couple new things starting in September. We have an arts-based healing program that we're doing with Michael S. Williams and Stacey L. Kirby, where we're talking about it's called Vital Health. It's a project that they are putting on, and we are partnering with them on it. And they're focused on the intergenerational trauma as it relates to race. And as you're learning more about that, and through a therapist and a poet, all the participants will be making flowers. So you're practicing a mindfulness technique as you're doing it. And we can drop off the flowers to create wreaths that we will show at Dorothea Dix Park, as a memory of all of the history of that land as a plantation. We're also starting a trauma-centered, trauma-sensitive yoga program starting mid-September, and actually on September 10th, which is World Suicide Prevention Day. And I'm excited that we'll be partnering with you guys to offer a virtual support group for LGBTQIA young adults. So there's so many exciting things happening. Despite all of the negative that's out there, we've also had volunteers calling and checking in on people who can't access our groups or have technology issues. So whatever we can do to make sure that people have the self-care tools to take care of themselves, and just remember that they're not alone in this, that you have a team of people who might not physically be there, but are thinking about you and rooting you on in this tough time.
Right. That's wonderful. And I know you all are working so hard. What are ways for folks who are watching this who want to get involved, who would like to either volunteer in some capacity, participate to offer help, or folks who are needing help themselves? What are ways they can connect with you?
Absolutely. NAMI Wake was entirely operated by volunteers for over 30 years.
Right.
And even though I am here and we have a few part-time paid staff, we are still heavily operated by volunteers. So all of our programs are led by people with lived experience. 100% of our staff and 82% of our board identify as someone with lived experience with mental illness. But even if you don't have a mental health condition or are a direct relative of somebody, there's still other ways that you can volunteer. We have people who help answer our calls and just are there to listen. We always have a need for more support group facilitators. So if you feel like you can take that next step, we are always here looking to listen and get involved. And if you're not quite sure and you just want to test the water out a little bit, I invite you to come to one of our education events, participate in a support group, get to see what they're like, listen to other people's stories and realize that it may not be as different from yours and what you've experienced. And so that's the whole point of what we do, is we try to just create that community, because it's really scary if you think you're going through this all by yourself. And while we aren't all in the same boat, we are going through a similar storm, where everyone's going through a storm right now. So we're here and we're just trying to let people know, it's okay if you're not okay right now, but you matter, you have value. We'd love for you to volunteer with us. And if not, just test us out.
Awesome. That's so great. We really appreciate the work you do. And you have done so much to support our community and the LGBTQ plus community and so many other communities. I would imagine folks can go to your website if they want to make a financial donation as well.
Absolutely. NAMI-wake.org, NAMI-WAKE.org. And you can learn all the different ways to get involved, the volunteer opportunities. We have people contribute to our blogs. So that's also another area where we'd love to get people to share their own thoughts and experience. So we'd love to hear from you. You can always call us at 919-848-4490 if you just want to talk to somebody. So we are here and we appreciate you and all the work you are doing. The center has always just been such a highlight in the area, and how much joy comes out of all the work that you do. So we're happy to be partnering with you.
Well, thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you very soon.
Yes.
Thanks for being here.
You too.
So Annie, you had another message for us. As soon as we hung up, we realized there was something else that you wanted to share. What would you like to share with the group?
Yes. So we have an event happening next Friday called the Celebration of Courage. And we're going back to the original meaning of this event, where we're celebrating the courage it takes to live an authentic life with a mental illness. And so it's going to be a great event. It's going to be on August 14th from 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning. It is free. You can find out about it on our website. But we'll have chair yoga. We have a spoken word piece, and we'll be highlighting stories of recovery from a community perspective, a family, and an individual. So it should be an inspirational day.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks. I'm excited to see you there.
My name is Maggie Kane, and I am the executive director of A Place at the Table. We are a pay what you can nonprofit restaurant in downtown Raleigh at 300 West Hargett Street. Pay what you can means that all people can come and pay what they can for a meal. Some people pay the suggested prices, some people pay more, some people pay less, and some people volunteer for their meal.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Maggie. So as you know, this is typically when we would be doing our Out Raleigh weekend. This was our rescheduled date back when we thought, August we'd be able to celebrate in person.
Of course.
So unfortunately, we're still not able to do that. So we wanted to do this to really be able to highlight all of our wonderful partner organizations, because ordinarily you'd be out there with us celebrating in the street.
Absolutely.
But since we can't do that, we wanted to just highlight some of the great work you're doing. And you have some big news. What's going on over there?
You all are so awesome. We love you. We miss you as around the corner neighbors. But you're not far. So yeah, it's been awesome. We also thought it was going to be a month, 2 months, 3 months of COVID. I think we all did. And so we've been shaken for that too. We were supposed to close for our expansion project in March and finish. We were taking over the space next door and building a bigger space, bigger kitchen, to have a bigger menu and more seating. We ended up having to stay open so we could serve the just crazy amount of people that were coming needing a pay what you can meal.
Right.
So we're lucky to do that, but we finally closed in mid-June through mid-July, and now we are reopened, have a much bigger menu. We're doing all curbside or phone orders. You can call in, we'll have your meal ready for you, and all at pay what you can price.
That's awesome. Maggie, how have you found that that you had to adjust to COVID? I mean, obviously delaying your construction project, but I know there's been real need in our community right now more than ever before. What have you all been able to do to respond to that?
Yes, we are so grateful. We are fortunate beyond belief that we are able to still be open and serving so many awesome people a dignified meal of choice. Our model has totally flipped. Prior to COVID, we saw about 60 to 70 people coming in needing a free meal. At the time, it was a volunteer meal too, to be a part of our community. And we saw about 60% of people paid for their meal and 40% of people did not. Now we're doing about 150, 200, 250 free meals a day, depending on the day. And then 80% of people do not pay, and 20% of people pay something. A lot more people are paying what they can. A lot of people are coming in with their families and paying a couple dollars for their meal, which is just so great. I think now more than ever, we need a pay what you can cafe where all people feel welcome to come and pay. We added a super dignified text to pay system. So instead of handing your credit card and having to say how much you want to pay, you can text this number, and most people are doing it. So there's just no, there's no guards up against it. And so people are texting this number and paying what they can. So yeah, we're just seeing there's a much bigger need, and people are struggling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that is a really cool thing with the texting, being able to text your amount. Are you still able to take volunteers right now, or have you kind of ceased volunteer operations?
Yeah, it makes us really sad because that was a big part of our mission, was community and good food for all regardless of means. And we did that through volunteering and eating together, none of which we can do. But there's still really cool community happening on the sidewalk. So we'd love for people to come and order their food and get to know us, and us get to know them. So no volunteering, and we don't know when that's going to happen again. It's just too risky with COVID. We are very limited on who comes inside and who volunteers, just because we don't want to spread COVID to anyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so what are ways people can get involved if they're just at home right now and maybe they're social distancing themselves, so maybe they're not comfortable coming to pick up a meal, but they would like to contribute? How can people contribute right now?
Absolutely. Well, follow us first on social media, Table Raleigh on Instagram and Twitter, and A Place at the Table Raleigh on Facebook. You can see updates, you can see fun photos of people, and just feel a part of the community that way. Engage with us. We love to hear from you. Also, you can, if you're quarantined and don't want to be around people but still want a good meal, and or need a good meal, call your order in. All of that is on our Instagram and website, all of our social media channels. Call your order in and just swing by. We will put it in the trunk of your car for you, so you do not have to feed me or anyone. And just come and see us for sure. If you can, if you're not quarantined, come and walk up, order your meal, see our giant menu boards in the windows, and just chat with us. We love it. We love seeing all of y'all.
Well, I'm going to get down there soon because I miss your grits bowls, and I'm excited to see the expanded menu as well.
Don't hate us. No grits right now, but they're
That's okay.
back.
That's okay. I'll find a new favorite, I'm sure.
Our chef is so particular. He doesn't think they travel well, that and waffles. So with everything to go, he's like, we can't serve this.
But that's not, I mean, that makes sense. It's, there are certain things that just are better fresh, eaten straight out of the kitchen, and other things, hold up a little better in transit. Do you also take just monetary donations? Is there a way to do that?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. Yep. Through our website, tableraleigh.org/donate, you can see all that information. We have the text to pay, and we also have a PayPal.
Awesome. Well, Maggie, we so appreciate everything you do in Raleigh. And I love, I don't know if you know this, but a little over a year ago now, I moved back to Raleigh after a 10-year absence. I was living in Pennsylvania. But even in Pennsylvania, people knew about this restaurant. I would say they knew about your restaurant. There were times that I'd mentioned people that I was from Raleigh, and they would say, oh, I heard Raleigh has that Pay What You Can restaurant now. So yeah, it's really cool.
So nice. Yeah. Where are you from?
So I'm from Raleigh originally. I grew up here, but my wife and I lived in Pennsylvania for a decade, and this was a homecoming, and I miss Pennsylvania sometimes, but I am so glad to be back in Raleigh. But yeah, it was just really cool that
I
people.
love that. Thank you. Our manager of volunteer engagement moved from Pennsylvania. And the volunteer coordinator we had before moved to Pennsylvania. So it was like
Oh,
weird.
that's funny.
We had a lot of Pennsylvania connections.
That's very funny. Yeah, I appreciate that your restaurant is one of the things that people think of when they think of Raleigh, and that's very cool.
Thanks for saying that. And right back at you. We love y'all so much and grateful for the work you do. It's really important.
Well, one of the things that you do very well is we know that people can come regardless of income level, gender, identity, expression. I mean, anything,
100%.
people can come and find a space. And that was really something we can tell you all we're so intentional about, something we're so grateful for. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. You just made my whole week done. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us today. And we will look forward to hopefully eating together in person soon. But in the meantime, we'll wave at you from the curb.
Right. So grateful. Thank you.
Hello. I was wondering if you would like to introduce yourself and tell us what organization you're with.
Hi, yes, my name is Jay Clapp, and I'm the Executive Director at the LGBTQ Center of Durham. My pronouns are they, them, theirs.
Awesome, Jay. So good to have you with us today. And you all have been busy, busy, busy at the LGBTQ Center of Durham. COVID has certainly shifted, I know, the way you've been doing things, but I know that you have certainly not slowed down. So I was wondering if you'd like to share with folks what you've had going on there over the past 4 or 5 months.
Absolutely. So we actually have been fairly busy, and it's been a shock to us. I actually asked my staff to sit down and stop. Like, let's stop and think. What have we accomplished? Let's actually celebrate that. And I want to start with some of the operations pieces of what we do, because a lot of people might not actually realize that we provide a lot of direct support to the community. Mm-hmm. One of the ways that we were doing that before COVID was through the host home program. And with the nature of COVID, asking folks to open up their homes to people that they're just now meeting was against CDC guidelines. So we had to shift the way we did intakes for the host home program. So we actually created room for folks to receive free therapy through the LGBTQ Center. While we might not be able to provide them the housing, we knew we would be able to provide them the mental health support through COVID. We've also opened up funds so that we can provide direct support towards solving the homelessness crisis by giving folks funds that would allow them to seek their own shelter. Yes, that program is limited because funds are limited, but it is a way that we've shifted that. Additionally, we were so fortunate to receive word from a family foundation to create what we've called the QT-POC Rapid Response Fund. And it has not been limited to the Durham area. It's actually been open to anyone who identifies as queer and or trans and a person of color, with priority really being on Black and Indigenous folks. We have released those out in 2 languages, English and Spanish, to make sure that we're capturing as many people as possible. And to date, we've given out about $75,000 from the QT-POC fund. And those have all been funds that we have raised through private foundations, individual giving. We even have folks who are having their own fundraisers to raise money for the QT-POC fund. There is a biology professor and research scientist who is creating starts from his garden and selling those plants as a fundraiser for the QT-POC fund. And people are being very generous through that. So that's some of the ways that we've shifted our direct support. But when it comes to our programming in particular, early on, we created the virtual dance classes and the virtual dance breaks, and those were so fun. I kind of want them to come back because I was having a great time doing them, and it was 30 minutes to an hour every single day of the week, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock, we were dancing. We've also gone on to do some trainings on queer sex ed so that we can prepare to do that in the fall. We've done a cooking series. We've done queer folklore where we specifically focused on people of color over the age of 30 telling their stories of coming out and how they find joy and resilience in a moment of so much turmoil. We've had a virtual drag show. We've just done so much during this period, and it's been amazing to watch us as we've ticked off. I believe we're now approaching 40 different initiatives that we've done since the inception of COVID. And right now we have a supply drive that we're running so that folks who don't have the money or access are able to get cleaning supplies, masks, and whatnot, and get what they need there. We also, I'm so proud of this, have officially launched the Gender Resources Advocacy and Support Program, GRASP for short. We promoted the person who was running the Name Change Navigator, which is a program through the center that allows people to have a facilitated process toward changing their names, and in the process might even get their gender marker corrected. And that has been amazing to watch them go from this volunteer position to a part-time position to this full-time position, ensuring that the needs of our gender diverse constituents are met. And that just makes me so happy. But we also recruited this phenomenal Black trans woman from Charleston, South Carolina. You can see her on CNN to help us run that program. And she brings a restorative justice lens to the program, which I'm really excited about, because I believe to be marginalized, to be of color, to be trans, to be queer is to have experienced trauma, and to bring someone in who truly understands the need to heal the hearts and the minds so that we can heal the body and the experience makes me so happy, and I'm so excited about Vanity joining our team. So yeah, we've been a little busy, a little bit fun. We are also in the process of negotiating the final terms of our LGBTQ plus youth center that should be open for summer 2021, COVID permitting, and we're just really proud of what we've done.
Yeah, it's been incredible to watch, and so great to see all the support that you provide to LGBTQ plus folks in the Triangle. I'm imagining that there are folks watching this right now who want to get involved with some of the things you mentioned. They have supplies they want to donate, or obviously want to donate to the QTPOC fund. What is the best way for people to do that?
Absolutely. So our Facebook page has all of the different ways to donate. If you look there, that's one way to do it. But if that feels a bit cumbersome, you can always go to our website and hit the contact us form and let us know that you have supplies to donate. Or if you have monies to donate, you can always just go to our donate page and donate through that form. And in the memo box, just tell us where you want the money to go. If you want it to go to the QTPOC fund, I personally will go into the system, grab those monies, and move them over to the QTPOC fund. And that will make sure that those monies go directly into the hands of queer and trans people of color. And quite frankly, we applied for a grant to cover the administrative fees of the QTPOC fund. So none of the money that people donate goes to the operating expenses of the center. Wow. That's already covered. What happens is it goes directly into the pockets of the people. Now, we're actually in the process of recruiting artists for Pride. We will be announcing Pride very soon, but we're having a virtual Pride. And we have several slots still open for drag artists, music artists, or other folks who have a performance piece. Yes, we're the LGBTQ Center of Durham, and we're always going to prioritize the experiences of queer and trans people of color because we believe they are the most marginalized in our community. And we ask that people understand that if we are given the opportunity to highlight the talents of queer and trans people of color, that's what we're going to do. So I'm saying, queer and trans people of color, you are highly encouraged to let us know that you are interested in performing at Pride. We are so excited about it. We are going to be announcing our headliners very soon, and I'm just like a little geeked out about it.
I bet. I'm excited to see.
Yeah.
We know you know how to do a Pride, so virtual or otherwise, I'm sure it's going to be fabulous. So now, are you still accepting, can people still apply to receive funds if they are a queer or trans person of color who is in need right now?
Yes, the answer to that is yes. Forgive me, I should have said we've given out about $65,000, okay. But we have a budget of $75,000 that we've raised thus far. Okay. And we're opening the fund in increments every month so that we can have a sustainable fund and help us see folks through COVID as long as possible. So we're asking people to start donating heavily because we know that unemployment is going away. That stimulus, the $600 a week, that's going away unless folks act. So we are asking people to donate to our QTPOC fund because it looks like if we don't get a huge infusion of donations or private funders showing up for us, that we're going to exhaust our funds in September.
In September, good. So this is, I mean, we're in early August now. This is definitely the time, moving into mid-August, this is definitely the time for people to act. So if you know, folks have the means, we would certainly encourage them to make those donations now because we want to keep this going as long as the need remains. And I'm sure that even after we start to see people back on their feet with, recovering from the pandemic, which of course right now we have no idea when that will be, but we know that you all will keep still figuring out ways to support people who are on or underemployed. And so I would highly encourage people to go to your website and make that donation today. So
Absolutely.
well, Jay, is there any last things you'd like to share with folks if they wanted to get involved? What about people who wanted to volunteer? Are you accepting volunteers?
At this moment, we're not accepting volunteers. We have reduced our operations to all virtual.
Okay.
And we are tapping very specific people who can help us move Pride forward. Right now, we're corralling volunteers, but we're not employing volunteers because we're revamping our volunteer process right before COVID. And so we're changing the way we were doing volunteering anyway.
Right.
We want the help, but we are putting COVID safety first. And we would have lots for people to do if it weren't for COVID. But we actually, if you were to ask me this question later in the fall, I would have an answer. But we have not figured out how we're going to run that program, but we will need volunteers. So if people want to volunteer, you can always email volunteer@lgbtqcenterofdurham.org, but the opportunities will not resume until later in the fall.
Awesome. Well, Jay, it's always a pleasure talking with you and learning about the great work that's happening over in Durham. We are so grateful for you and appreciative. And, if folks want to reach you, of course, they can find your website at lgbtqcenterofdurham.org. Or, of course, if you want to give us a call too at the LGBT Center of Raleigh, we'll put you in touch with the right folks over in Durham. We refer all kinds of people to you for all the great things you're doing, particularly the Name Change Navigator program has been a huge asset to our communities. So thank you for everything, and can't wait till we can all celebrate together in person soon, but we look forward to virtually celebrating with you in the coming months.
Absolutely. This was
Thanks,
lovely.
Jay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. I am John Rowell Jr., and I am the Outreach Prevention Specialist at the Alliance of AIDS Services, Carolina in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Awesome. Thanks, John. So, John, you, under non-pandemic times, would come to the center twice a week and provide HIV and STI testing at the center. Obviously, that has been a little bit different now, but I know you all have been reopened to provide testing, relatively recently. But do you want to share with folks what's going on over at Alliance and how you all have responded to the COVID crisis?
So, as of now, what we are currently doing is that we're still testing from 9 to 4, obviously, bringing in your mask, making sure you're using the hand sanitizer that's at the front desk.
Mm-hmm.
We have had like a series of like little notes on the door, kind of asking little questions of, have you been out of the country in the past month or so? Are you sick? Have you been around someone who is sick?
Right.
Then we take your temperature, and then the same procedure of going over paperwork, filling it out when we test you. So it's a little altered, but not too drastically.
Right. And that's it. Where's your location where people can go to receive testing?
We are located at 1637 Old Lewisburg Road.
Got it. So that's not too far from downtown, right?
Not at all.
Okay, awesome. And we're going to be resuming testing at the LGBT Center in our new location, right? Starting on Monday. So we're really excited for that. And I think we did decide that for the time being, we're going to do just one night a week to kind of assess what the need is right now, figure that out. So we're really excited. It'll be great to see you all again on a regular basis. And of course, it's such a vital service because all of your testing the offer is free. So that's just wonderful. But you all do a lot of different things and you have a lot of different programs. So I was wondering if you could share with folks some of the other programs you have going on as well.
So we do have two other programs, one that I'm over called Keep It Up, and we also have Clear. And Clear has been with the Alliance for some time now, and it's more so of a slightly like a short-term goal-oriented program, as well as something going towards assisting with those who may be HIV positive. So it's not limited to age, it's not limited to your gender identity. It's just if you're HIV positive and you need help and you need someone to talk to, just kind of going through that short time period, you have someone that you can go to outside of, if you can't talk to family about certain things, if you can't talk to your significant other about certain things, this is where Clear comes in handy. And one of the things that I've actually noticed that I really, really enjoy about Clear is that we've noticed and I've seen how passionate some of our Clear providers are about this, and it shows in how close they get, not necessarily close they get with their participants, but the way at which they come in, and when they do come in, if they could ever come and visit, you can see the shift. And it's like, oh, hey, it's like, oh, okay, this is wonderful. I love it.
Right.
And that's kind of the small thing of Clear.
Right.
And with Keep It Up is actually something that I'm over. And Keep It Up is a men's, I'll say LGBT, because it's not solely conducive to gay or bisexual men. But it's for men ages 18 to 29, living in North Carolina. And as long as you're willing to be tested by someone of the Alliance, we can work with you. It goes over discordant relationships, dating, sex, and just kind of going into that thing of what do you do in a situation where you may see something on a person, whether it's like a bump, a few bumps, or some marks that you're kind of unaware of, not necessarily unaware of, but kind of are taken aback by. And kind of how do you handle certain situations like that? How do you handle being in a situation where you're at a club and you met this guy and it's like, oh, he's hot, let's do it. But you don't know if he's positive or not.
Right.
How do I handle this situation? Where do I go to, figure out where, what avenues do I take to make sure that I'm in the clear if condoms weren't used and if PrEP is not an option at that point in time. It's broken down into 5 different episodes, and everything you can do is from home.
Nice.
And over time, we will have events kind of for some people who may be watching out there. We had an event called the No Tea, No Shade event. And we went over Keep It Up, but we also went over some big topics in social media, like, oh, what's going on with Doja Cat nowadays? Oh, right. Are you okay with being with someone who has an OnlyFans and they're doing scenes with other people? Things like questions like that were coming up. Questions about PrEP were coming up. And these general topics are what I kind of strived to have to kind of get that thing of, okay, you know what? Yeah, Keep It Up is something that you can do from home, but it's nice to have that interaction with people. And It's nice to interact with people who are also in the program with you. And you get these different views about Keep It Up, different views about life, different views on PrEP, condom use, and things like that.
Right.
And so, in a nutshell, that is what Keep It Up is, as well as, throwing out little gifts out here and there. And
yeah.
Or as I like to call them, kinky bags.
Ooh,
right?
that sounds fun.
I am so excited to give these out, and I'm ready because I can't give too much information outside of, I really think that these are going to be things that people are like, ooh, this should be fun.
So those are gifted randomly to program participants, or is that how that?
So, well, the way that works is going to end up being that, getting through the baseline survey and actually going through the episodes, like, making sure you're consistently on it and getting more into the participation side of social media where, hey, I want to see the best eye, the best elbow, the best body. It doesn't have to be perfect. It could be whatever the case may be, whatever you're comfortable with putting out there. Videos on, what does Keep It Up mean to you? What is safe sex for you? What is fun for you? Things like that. And by participating and getting into everything, gift cards, goodie bags, kinky bags, goodie boxes, things like that, and are supplied for them as long as they're participating, though.
Right. That's awesome. So how do people get more information if they want to sign up? These are important conversations. You're talking about consent and boundaries and health and, so many things that are so, important for us to be talking about. So if somebody wants to sign up for the program, how do they get involved?
So if they would like, they can like and follow the Facebook page for
Okay.
Keep It Up. And there's actually a link for them to sign up for that's like on the main part of the page. And it is Keep It Up or KIU North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And if not there, they can also email me at John, JOHN .Rowell, ROWELL at aas-c.org.
Got it.
And those are the two best ways.
Right. And I'm sure they probably call the Alliance as well. And somebody will,
as well.
Yeah, somebody will forward them, or they can call the LGBT Center. And we, all day, every day, I say when I answer the phones, I give people your number. So, Alliance will have the answer to that. So, Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to share about anything you all have going on right now?
We are offering PrEP referrals as well.
Right.
So we are still going on with our PrEP referral system. And just to kind of give people a background on that, our PrEP referral systems, basically you come in, you get tested. We do a full, for you to be on PrEP, obviously you have to be HIV negative. Right. So we'll go over, you're going over insurance, going over what you would be experiencing while going through that process. It's not an extremely long process, but we want to make sure, I want to make sure, and others as well want to make sure that we have everyone kind of all on one accord about getting on PrEP. Right. But, they'll fill out some paperwork, and even with my experience, talk to the PrEP provider at whichever location that they would go to from our 340B program. They would go, I guess, do some blood work, get their kidney stuff done, and boom, PrEP.
Awesome.
And I will say, to my knowledge, and including because I did go through this PrEP process myself, everyone I've gotten on PrEP personally has gotten PrEP for free. However, we like to let people know that it is little to no cost for their PrEP medication.
Right.
So the only thing that they would probably run into, it may be like the cost to go to get their blood work done for their kidneys and things like that. But that would be the only thing that they would have to worry about.
Right. And you help people navigate that too, right? It sounds like figure out the best, most cost-effective option for them.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all the work you all do. We are so grateful for your partnership and so excited to have you back here on Mondays. I want to remind people that that's going to be at 19 West Hargett Street. And when folks come, they're going to come up to the front door, and we're going to have the thermometer, the temporal thermometer there to take temperatures. Of course, we want people to bring their masks, and then we're going to send them on up, and they'll likely see your smiling face talking them through. So I think everybody who ever comes, they have great experiences with you all. You're, of course, friendly and informative. And so that's going to be Monday nights from 5 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. So I want to encourage people to come out. So thanks, John. I look forward to seeing you.
I'm so excited. I miss you guys so much.
We miss you too. We'll talk to you very soon. Thank you.
Of course.
Hey, Vance, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Great. So do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself and let people know what organization you're with?
Sure. I'm Reverend Vance Haywood. I'm the senior pastor at St. John's Metropolitan Community Church in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Wonderful. So Vance, I know you have done a lot of different things to respond to the pandemic. And I was wondering if you could share with some folks what you all have had going on over there, because I know you've been working nonstop.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that we've done is our food pantry services have probably tripled in need. So we've got families and individuals that are coming and using the pantry every week, is helping folks who have found themselves in food insecure households, children who are out of school now and relied on the school meal programs to help provide some of the nourishment through the week. So we've continued that program and actually ramped it up quite a bit. We also are continuing to provide hot meals, about 600 hot meals every week for folks who hot meals to come in. And then we've also found ourselves doing some, case management work of sorts as it comes to trying to help folks manage and navigate through life during a pandemic. Folks who are experiencing homelessness for the first time. And then we've got a number of folks, just as you do at the center, I'm sure, that are reaching out to us who are LGBTQ and now find themselves quarantined or self-quarantined at home with family who may not necessarily be as supportive, or where they can't be out in themselves. And so just working through how to continue to know that you're loved and know that there are support structures there. They just look a little bit different.
Right.
So that's some of the work that's been happening.
That's great. And I know we get a lot of questions from folks who want to provide donations. Do you take food donations for your food pantry? Do you prefer monetary donations? What are the needs that the church has right now?
We'll take food or monetary donations. Both help tremendously. People who just are cleaning out their cupboards and want to donate food, we're certainly accepting of that. We have folks who go out and go grocery shopping. We have a needs list listed on our website, so people can go and see if they prefer to buy the items directly. And then we always, do encourage folks to do things through monetary donations, just because when we purchase in bulk, we typically can get a little bit more with the same amount of money. And so we can do that, and then we can help through our other services and other benevolence funding to help with some of the folks who are trying to get housing or trying to get reestablished and things like that.
Right. Oh, that's great. So folks can just find that information through your website then is the best way to.
Yeah, that's probably the quickest, because we keep the needs list updated, and so that's the easiest way to go find the needs list, and to find if you're looking to give, you can give that way as well, and you can designate your giving to the community center or to the food pantry, and so that your money's going into those programs. The website, I'm sure, is on the Out Raleigh Festival, virtual festival, but it's stjohnsmcc.org.
Yep, that's great. So one of the things I was wondering if you could share with folks is, for people who are not familiar with what an MCC congregation looks like, and I know you're doing all of your services virtually, correct?
Yes.
At this present time. So wondering if you could share with folks what it means to attend an MCC service, or what they would expect if they log on a Sunday morning to watch the virtual service.
I would say that you just expect church. And I held off, I have shared this story before. I held off going to an MCC years ago because my friends told me to go to the gay church. And so I held off on that because I grew up in church, and I was like, well, I want to go to a church that's about spirit and about loving people, and I don't want it just to be about one thing. And so the first time I walked into an MCC, it's like, oh, wait, this is just church. There's no hatred. It's what I feel like spirituality, what God intended for us to be about, and what encompasses God's love. Right. And so I would say just expect church, but expect love and unconditional love, and getting to see what that looks like. Expect an imperfect people that are striving to do the best that we can and be better than we were yesterday, and continue to love each other. And know that when you walk through our doors, and when you walk through the doors of any MCC, our whole denomination was founded to be a church for people who were oppressed and told that they didn't have a place to belong. Right. To be a home for folks who had been pushed out or shut out.
Right. And I know historically you all have done a lot with like Poor People's Campaign and other various organizations. I know racial equity is a big focus. Is there anything you want to share about that, about any initiatives you have going on? And I know obviously with the pandemic, it's so hard, we're responding to those needs often, but I know that you work racial equity into everything that you do. Is there anything you want to share about that?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I think most of us are focusing on now is how to continue to support and encourage change, and to find ways to be able to be there for one another, to lift one another up. The biggest thing we're mostly focusing on now are the elections that are coming up. We don't tell folks how to vote. We're a church, so we don't back any political party, but we do share, what the issues are and what the various problems that we see under current policies that are out there, and some of the policy change that we would like to see to include all people and make sure that people are cared for. So we're working together to make sure folks are educated. We'll trying to make sure folks have everything they need to make decisions that are best for themselves and those they love. So education ahead of voting is probably one of the biggest things, making sure folks are registered and making sure that folks know that every vote counts. Again, we're coming up on this election that is so pivotal in the moment, this moment in our history,
Right.
and will shape what our next 50 years look like. And so that's the biggest thing I would say that we're focusing on right now. We are working to continue to find ways to help prevent and end homelessness, and working with our folks that we see every day who are struggling, particularly LGBTQ people who find themselves disproportionately impacted, and LGBT people of color who see themselves disproportionately impacted by things like systemic racism and poverty and extreme poverty. So we're continuing to try and find ways to do that. If you want to get involved with any of the initiatives we have going on, we work with the Poor People's Campaign and several other groups. You can reach out to us through our website. There's links right there on the main page that will help you get connected if you're passionate about social justice or just want to learn more about it. That's what I say, and our founder of MCCs has said many times, is that we are a social justice church. We're not just a gay church or just a trans church. We're a social justice church. We're here for people.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I always appreciate the incredible work you do, and you have worked so hard through this pandemic. I know you've been one of the few places, if not the only place, that's been consistently serving hot meals to people in Raleigh and in the Triangle, and we're so grateful for everything you do. So I hope folks will check out, as you mentioned, it's on the virtual vendor fair page. And also, we were talking about voting, and I was thinking later today, we actually have a workshop happening about how people can vote. A lot of folks don't know about the requesting absentee ballots right now. Of course, it's going to be a tricky time to vote during a pandemic. So we want to make sure folks are ordering or requesting their absentee ballot. So Erica Porter from the Board of Elections will be holding a workshop on that, which will be streaming on the LGBT Center's Facebook page. So yeah, so thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate you, and always happy to collaborate and talk with you.
Yes, thank you so much for the work you're doing, and good luck to you with everything with the fair this weekend. I'm excited to see it.
Thank you.
All right.